Welcome, citizens of the United Empire of Earth, to the Citizen Inquisitor. I'm Citizen Dale, and I'll be your guide in an attempt to navigate Star Citizen and the UEE. If you're American and you've ever been shopping for health insurance, most of what you read looks like utter nonsense. You don't know what it means, and you frankly don't care. The problem is that if you don't take the time to learn it, you end up getting screwed in either the price you're paying for it or its actual usefulness when you need it. Well, the same goes for understanding your ship. You've got to spend a little time figuring out what this stuff means. Today, we're looking at hardpoints. You'll see hardpoints listed on the ship specs page of the RSI website. Just pick a ship and scroll down to the bottom. There you can pop open hardpoints and view the specifics for each ship. So what is a hardpoint? Well, a hardpoint is simply a location on your ship that can carry something either internally on the inside or externally on the outside frame. It's just a place where something can be carried or mounted. A hardpoint can take a variety of forms and therefore can hold a variety of stuff. It can be a space to install a component or a slot suited for mounting a weapon. First, let's take a look at the inside of your ship, your internal hardpoints. You have a number of systems necessary for your ship to function. For example, you need a power plant to generate power, an avionics system for targeting, maneuvering, and life support, a shield generator for protection, a fuel tank for, well, fuel, and a whole lot more. Now, each of these systems or components is installed in an internal hardpoint. Now, let's stop here for a moment and consider something. Not all of these systems and components are going to be the same size. Your little 19-meter long Aurora ES isn't exactly going to have the room for the power plant needed to run your 55-meter long Constellation. And your Connie's power plant won't keep a 238-meter long Idris functioning for very long. So now we're talking about hardpoint maximum available capacity, or put more simply, its size. Each of the hardpoints inside your ship has a limit as to what it can hold or handle. This is its maximum capacity. Let's continue with that power plant example. Your Aurora comes with an Alliance StarTech KS9 power plant if you buy it off the new ship lot at your local dealership. If you take a look at your Aurora's max power plant size, it says 2. That's the Aurora's maximum capacity for its power plant hardpoint. So from this we can infer that the KS9 power plant that comes with it must either be rated a 1 or a 2 in terms of its size. You can now shop for other power plants for your Aurora, but you'll need to make sure that you don't go over the maximum size of 2 that will fit into this hardpoint. Each of your internal hardpoints will have similar maximum capacities. The other that you can easily see on the ship specs page is the capacity for your shield generator where it says max shield. Now let's move on to external hardpoints. These are what we're usually talking about when hardpoints are discussed because let's face it, pew pew pew. The external hardpoints on your ship are where weapons or other equipment can be mounted. Your ship will have a certain number of external hardpoints available. Now, each of these hardpoints may be different. Their differences include the size of the equipment they can hold, the type of equipment that they can hold, and their articulation, or the ability for the hardpoint to move. These differences have been broken down into a classification system. Let's touch on each known class at this time. Just keep in mind that a Class 1 isn't necessarily worse than a Class 3 just because it has a lower number. This isn't a ranking system. You may have a pea shooter on your Class 1 hardpoint on your fighter, but be packing a Death Star-like cannon on the Class 1 hardpoint of your capital ship. The classifications are just a way to tell the different types of hardpoints apart. A Class 1 hardpoint holds a fixed gun. This is simply a gun mounted on the hardpoint that points forward. It turns with your ship and will shoot in whichever direction your ship is pointing at that moment. It often can mount larger fixed weapon systems. A Class 2 hardpoint holds a gimbal-mounted weapon. This is a weapon that can pivot, thereby producing an arc of fire. So it can shoot at targets that are not necessarily directly in front of you. That sounds much better, however this ability does come at the cost of a smaller weapon size. Your Class 3 hardpoints most of the time will use what are called pylons. A pylon is an adapter that attaches a piece of equipment to the frame of your ship. One function of pylons is to keep the equipment off of the frame of the ship so it doesn't interfere with the ship, or to keep your ship from messing with the function of your equipment. Class 3s will be used for your missile racks, radar pods, scanners, drop tanks, additional ammunition, countermeasures, tractor beams, and a whole lot more. A Class 4 hardpoint is where a fixed gun that you might install in a Class 1 hardpoint is mounted to a turret. This turret may be pilot-controlled or potentially controlled by another crew member. Because it's a turret, it can rotate to fire in a large arc around your ship. Class 4s can also be used for pylon-type equipment as well, like a tractor beam or a chaff dispenser. Some ships could even possibly use them for increased cargo space or other systems. Class 5 hardpoints separate the men from the, well, man. If you have a Class 5 hardpoint, then more than likely there is more than one person on your ship, because a Class 5 is meant for manned turrets. Think about that scene in Star Wars where Han and Luke are blowing away all those TIE fighters. You ever wonder if those TIE fighter pilots knew they were on a suicide mission there? Well, regardless, you're typically going to see Class 5s on large ships. Class 6s are for heavy, manned capital ship turrets, meant for ship-to-ship combat. We're talking big gun turrets on big ships. Class 7s are for spinal-mounted lasers, which are powerful lasers effective against medium or large ships. They're mounted, you guessed it, on the spine of the ship. And Class 8 hardpoints are for capital ship cannons, meant for battles between capital ships. Imagine those battles on the high seas as two pirate ships line each other up broadside and tear one another apart. Now finally, that brings us to the Class 9 hardpoint, which is designed to hold short-range, automated defensive systems. I'm sure we'll learn more about all the classes as development continues. Last but not least are hardpoints for additional equipment. Different ships may have unique hardpoints built in for different purposes, from jump engines to docking collars to hidden compartments to prisoner transport pods to space for other ships or vehicles. The possibilities for these are endless. Well, that's it for now, Citizen. I hope this rundown about hardpoints was informative. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next installment of Ship Specs 101. Citizen Dale out.